is for friends.
I thought this music was so epic.
We all like talking about gaming. The only thing that I disliked about the old game. There are so many different conversations started by gaming.
Oh, I forgot. I have you.
This could be anything. Okay, walk in that green goo. Oh, nope. That's a no. Anything Gaming Pod. Hi, welcome to the Anything Gaming Podcast, episode number 1. We did 0 last week, so it's kind of a bit weird if you're the second week in. But hi, I'm Ant. That's Woody. What have we got on today's show?
Oh, we got a couple of topics we're going to talk about. We're actually going to do something that might ruffle some feathers. We're going to be talking about games that we personally just can't get into. We either don't like it or just it's unplayable us, but everyone else loves it or has like super high cultish praise for. Also, we're going to be talking about games where you design more than just characters. You design the levels themselves to create new experiences. Like game build a garage style games that like kind of test your creativity and see if they're, if it's worth it, if you actually do get a good experience out of these games. But first, we're actually gonna go through some news stories. Well, right now,
before we do that, we got one big long comment from my class.
God, yeah. Hi, Mike. Yeah. So last week we discussed Sega briefly. We talked a little bit about how the mistakes Sega made. Let's just say that,
Yeah.
I love the company, so I'm not gonna prod on them. And luckily, Mike was there, who is the Sega historian. He gave us a detailed breakdown on exactly why Sega misstepped, why they ended up leaving the hardware business. Very fascinating read. The entire story of Sega, from conception to the final days of the Dreamcast. Just a fascinating story all around, and global too. Like how they had different parts of influence, like in Brazil, for example. They were more situated in Europe than the NES was. And just to see, a company with that much potential, and then they come over to come out with the Mega Drive or Genesis, wherever we are, and really kick things off to high gear. And then, like, just about a little over a decade after that, they were gone.
It was crazy how fast they came and went. It's kind of sad, but yeah, we can all learn from their mistakes, I guess.
Well, I mean, at the very least, they're still a software company. I mean, and they still pump out the occasional playable Sonic. Oh, they do good stuff. They do the Bayonetta series is tight. And any Virtua Fighter that ever comes out is good.
Okay, just quick question on the side note here. Do you find it almost sacrilegious that they have the Sega's collection on the Nintendo? I find it really hard to enjoy that kind of... Like, I'm a Nintendo fan, but you know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I think it's more... All right, I might get a comment for this. I think it's more sacrilegious to have them on both the Sony and the Xbox because, to me... Because they were such fierce rivals in the 90s, it's almost like, it's kind of like the comedian in Watchmen. His best friend is his enemy. You know what I mean? Because they were there. They were there in the 90s. They remember what life was like competing with each other, having similar games. Sometimes the same game come out for both systems. Your Mortal Kombats, your Earthworm Jims, different versions of Aladdin. So because of that, I think Sega just has like such a strong relationship with Nintendo. It was just so antagonistic that now that the chips are finally gone, who do you know? So anytime a Sega game comes out, like when Sonic Origins came out, I picked it up on the Switch first.
Okay.
Because I felt like, it's almost like an old friend.
Yeah.
I mean, just sometimes, Batman and Joker, they have a chuckle together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're tied together forever, and it's kind of like that, to me at least.
Yeah, no, I can see that point. I was like, oh, this feels a bit dirty at first going on, but now I like your point of view. I'm gonna jump over the fence now on that one. And
oh, don't get me wrong. I still do get Sega games for the other two consoles, but that's like either I got it for the Switch already, or I have it for a Nintendo system or the original already.
Okay, here's sacrilege if Microsoft buys out Sega.
Oh, man.
Okay, that's another topic, another day. Let's go into the news.
Yeah.
Let's go into some news. What's grabbed your attention this week in the news stories, the gaming news stories anyway?
Actually, it's kind of funny because originally I was going to talk about something, but now this more interesting thing happened. But they're both intertwined because they both involve microtransactions.
Oh.
Now, the good story is Baldur's Gate 3. They publicly stated that there will be no microtransactions within the game. Like they made a point of saying that, that like they're not gonna chisel you for bits and pieces, which is good because Street Fighter 6 is chiseling for a lot of pieces. It was announced that their TMNT skin pack, not character pack, skin pack was coming out. Each skin was going to cost $15 American for a combined total, if you get all four, $60. The price of the game itself, this ain't a free-to-play game. This ain't Overwatch. This ain't something that you download for free and then you put money into it. This is a game you already bought. And there's a couple other cosmetic things. I didn't even bother looking at them because I was just so like flabbergasted with the price. Overall, to get all this stuff, it costs about close to 100 American.
See, I can deal with when Overwatch comes out free and then you've got to buy the skins. To me, that's fair.
Right.
Yeah, like they've got to make money for the game. But to double dip, that's when I find it challenging. I mean, Call of Duty was probably one of the first founders of this kind of map packs and this that got everyone hooked in. But skins.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if at the very least, if they were actual characters, and from what I heard, I don't even think you can play them in arcade mode. I think it's just World Tour mode. For the record, I haven't played Street Fighter 6. I'm probably not going to now, but it's so minimal, and for $15. Now, keep in mind, just a couple years ago, Injustice 2 came out. You could buy all 4 turtles, and they're all characters. $10 for the 4.
Yeah, I think that there I can deal with. That's not a
right.
I can feel like there's a fair price, and then there's the inflated price that no one wants to kind of be involved with. So,
I don't expect them to give it all away for free. It'd be nice. They kind of used to back in the day, but no, I understand. It's revenue for money. They got to feed their families and do other things. So I get that, but just like such a bite out of your wallet for nothing. I can't. I don't like it. That's all. I love Capcom. I love Street Fighter, and I love Ninja Turtles, but.
Well, if you like, write a comment too. If that's what's your thoughts on this? We're not the only ones with ideas and thoughts on this.
No.
Write that down.
And people do have its defenders because it is big. I mean, even Smash Brothers, you could buy costume skins for your Mii fighters but even then, I think it was like $1 here and there, and it's a complicated issue that unfortunately I don't see going away for a long time. But yeah,
I think it's only going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Well, I've got a money story too that I thought was interesting. So, you Game Pass for Xbox. Everyone kind of likes it or hates it, has an opinion. But anyway, it used to be $1, so you can get that 1 month's free subscription, and then after that, you had to pay the $14 or whatever it is in your country for the rest of it. Now Xbox has changed this to now 14 days. And I think that's because of Starfield that's coming out, that they just know that a lot of people are going to get the subscription for $1 just so they can play the game and then get rid of it. They probably get through the game in a month. But if they, in 14 days, that's probably a bit of touch and go if you'll get through it.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking, that game is so pumped, so hyped. Is it I'm really worried for the game itself. I mean, the last game that was really that hyped and that pumped was Cyberpunk. And that game was completely terrible when it released. It shouldn't have released, basically. And so every time I think back at these super hyped games, like another one was No Man's Sky. That was super pumped, and that was another flop straight out of the gate. Now it's very popular, but these games, you know what I mean? So is Starfield going to be another flop? Are we going to have like this position like that? Where do you think this is going to go?
I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I love Skyrim. I love Fallout 4. Admittedly, I didn't play either online iteration. So if we're just going by track record, at the very least, Starfield will be playable and interesting. Because and naturally because it's Bethesda, I am worried about day one bugs, glitches, crashes, saved data wiping, stuff like that. That's more what I'm worried about with Starfield. I'm confident that the game itself will be good.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. Like it will be competently structured, as far as the actual story-driven campaign goes. But I am hesitant about the bugs and the glitches. And like you said, with Game Pass, just like maybe even like the fact that it could be on Game Pass for just a little while. That just a little while will be when it's just fresh out, and therefore it doesn't have the bug fixing patches that have come out yet. So I could see that maybe turning some people away because they're technically
Microsoft have got a pretty good track record of keeping whatever games they put on Game Pass, like your Minecraft and all that. They keep them on there for a long period of time. They like years. It's the ones that change out on Game Pass are normally the small indie games that maybe get a month or two, and then they just swap them out for a different indie game because like some of those small indie games are harder to play for a longer period of time. But yeah.
No, like honestly, like when it comes to Game Pass and how they switch out the indie games, that makes sense because that's the best advertising for these games that you'll just never hear of. And you'll see it, and maybe the cover will be like, "Oh, it's a roguelike." I don't know. I like roguelikes, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you play it, and that's the advertisement. Maybe you only play it for a minute, and you won't buy it, but there is that chance that you'll have that person that buy it. Whereas with games like Starfield, I'm going to buy it. I'm probably gonna buy it. I'm probably gonna buy it twice. I'm probably like of course I'm gonna buy it. It's Bethesda, but you got to be careful with how you present the game. Make sure you don't rush it. I'm glad that you said that about how Game Pass really does, dot their I's and crosses their T's, though, at least, which makes sense. You're putting this stuff out for people to see. You want to look and play as well as possible.
Yeah. And Game Pass has got its own little reward system. You come back every couple of days or every day. Oh, you've got a run or streak of gameplays in a row, and it kind of tries to encourage people. It's got its own little thing going on. So I like that part.
I remember the first time I experienced that, I was like, wow, there's its own achievements in this? All right, that's cool. To download 5 games? Sure.
We talked about briefly about Microsoft buying Activision. Where are you at with that situation? I think it's going to go through by the looks of how it's all panning out. Are you a hater or a lover?
Well, I honestly, in a way, I don't have necessarily a dog in the fight just because I got Xbox, I got PlayStation, so no matter what comes out, I'll be able to pick up. So I can't really cry about exclusives. Even though personally, if I was playing Call of Duty, I know it's supposed to stay on PlayStation 5 I heard it's also come out for the Switch, but knowing that I'm not going to have the focus on my game, I could see the COD players not being happy about that, I'm also, and I think I touched on this too, I'm old school. I remember when they bought Rare, and at the time I was excited. I thought, oh my God, they're going to have, Perfect Dark Zero hadn't come out yet. It may have not even been announced. And just what they did with Nintendo, and now with Microsoft back, and wow, they're gonna have their own huge list of IPs. They'll be able to compete with Sony, which at that time already had a good roster IP, and Nintendo, which is the roster IPs, and it crashed and burned hard. People didn't like Perfect Dark Zero. Grabbed by the Ghoulies was meh.
But I think
really.
I will defend Microsoft on this. I think they've actually fixed, learnt from that a lot. They've got better and better at managing their IPs. They kind of work out what people want, and they buy the IPs with the intentions of growing them now. Like if you look at the Minecraft, how they've brought out the dungeons and the other one, and they're kind of their own little separate games, but they all flow in together. So I think that's kind of important with that IP thing. The thing that Sony's mucked up in all of this, because they were so hard against it, and it was Sony's selfish reasons too. Like Sony was worried about losing out monies and stuff like that. Sony wasn't trying to protect us, the gamers. They were trying to protect themselves. So don't get confused with all that.
No, yeah. Like, I mean, they were in a good position to say, yeah, we're doing it for our gamers, you know, and they do have right now. Chances are my brother's playing Call of Duty on the PlayStation 5 right now.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day, cash rules everything around us. And it was a good position for them to look like heroes. We all knew it was just for the money. And honestly, I don't blame them. They get a good chunk of it from Call of Duty.
Oh, 100%. But the point I was going to make is that the original Microsoft agreement to PlayStation included included Spyro and also Crash Bandicoot, which were originally PlayStation exclusives. The new updated agreement that they've put through to Sony does not include those games. Those games may not even be on the PlayStation going forward. They've only guaranteed Call of Duty. That's it. So Sony's going to have to go out way with their tail between their legs with this one. And
I know, yeah. And I mean, talking to someone who was there with PS1, the Crash Bandicoot, in the same way that Sonic was Sega, Crash for a time was Sony. Like that was Sony's mascot. That was like the face in the commercials selling you a PlayStation back in 1996, I don't know if I got that right. So if that would suck if you couldn't actually have Crash Bandicoot on its home, you know what I mean? Like where it belongs. I think the last Crash Bandicoot they actually came out with Crash Bandicoot 4. Good game too, very enjoyable, like damn good revival. So the thought of Crash Bandicoot 5 not being on a Sony system, I don't like that.
But also, what about one of my favorite moments in Uncharted 4 was when you play Crash Bandicoot on the TV there, and they have the little PlayStation and you play. Like technically now Xbox owns that. It's kind of a little bit of a weird scenario.
Like what would happen like a couple years from now if they decide to remaster the Uncharted series again? I mean, I don't know. Just replace it with Parappa the Rapper. Honestly, that'd be cool. You know, like that would break up the game real quick if you had to like try to get Master Chop Onion Head. Something like that. I mean, just pull like a thing. Don't play God of War.
Yeah. So when they remastered the Pikmin series, they took out the Duracell batteries and they put just no-name batteries in there. So things like that happen all the time in the remasters, which annoy everyone, I think. Yeah, so
one thing, this doesn't really have to do with like censoring or getting rid of stuff. It's just funny how some stuff works. Back when Saints Row 2 came out, they were doing like weird advertising stuff in the game that when you drove by a billboard, it would actually show something. And it was a movie From Paris with Love with John Travolta, and or maybe Berlin's from some random European city with love, and it was all over the billboards when you drove around the game.
Yeah,
and it just became so iconic that now when I play Saints Row 2, and they're long gone, you know what I mean? That was 15 years ago. I always like thinking, oh man, that stinks that's not in the game anymore. So I could see that with the same way with Duracell batteries and Pikmin, I guess.
Anyway, I think is there any more news that we've missed? Have we missed any other news in this?
I think we're good. I think we cracked on a couple of topics that, you know.
There wasn't anything major this week. There was just those little kind of things.
No real controversies. No one got, nothing. No one got sued as far as I can tell. I mean, Microsoft, Activision thing's still going.
We've always got next week.
Oh yes, something will happen. Something will happen before we stop talking today.
Look, I'm going to go on to games that you design. That's the game, and I'm going to talk about this because I played Dreams or whatever it is, the free game that you get at the moment on PlayStation Plus, and it kind of there's also Mario Maker. There's a whole array of these type of games that people know and do love. Even there's a heap of games that have a game, but then they have the builder. We're not talking about them so much. We're more talking about the games that are pretty much just all building, and there's not much else to do but building or playing other people's games. What's your thoughts and opinions on this? You can start the ball rolling on this one.
I mean, I think, I got another story. It reminds me of when I was probably about 5-6 years old. A sight bike. You made your own levels. You could drive the 5 levels they gave you, but you could, make your own ramps, whatever thing you do. And that, to me, that was the first time I ever felt like I created something in a game. Flash forward today with games like Dreams, which I too started up. I love the intro. I thought it had a very nice tutorial to it and a pleasant voice, the graphics. It's games like Mario Maker 2, where you can just come up with an idea. Because to some people, I think people got to realize that some people just can't come up with ideas necessarily not as well as people that just crank them out, but they need that certain avenue to express it a certain way. Some people just need a canvas and, an easel and a paintbrush. But if you can get someone to actually create this world in Mario Maker 2 or Dreams or, Game Builder Garage or even Minecraft. Minecraft is big with that. Mm-hmm. I think at that point that game achieved its goal and did something right. Sparking the brain, sparking the imagination, which I think every video game from roguelike grinders to, music rhythm game should be. It's about escapism. And just escaping into creationism is just so cool because then once you pull out, you can see, oh, wow, I made this game. I made this level. You know, and then you end up playing it. And sometimes that'll happen with me with Mario Maker. I'll play some of the levels I made, and it'll just feel like I wasn't even there making it. I'm almost playing someone else's level. And it's a cool feeling.
I do like that when there's so many times I play a game and you think, I wish they did this in the game, and then you can actually go and make that. But you've got to kind of, I think that these games are popular with people that have played a lot of games, and then I think that people either play a lot of games and they go into actually making games as an indie developer, or they play a lot of games and then they get kind of a little bit bored, and then these level design games become interesting to them because it's everything you know about games, but then you can add more to it yourself and personalize it to be your own thing. And with the whole internet and sharing your levels, you can make a level and go, hey, this is really cool. Hey, would you like to go and check it out? This is what I made. And I'm like, I'll try and see how I can beat your level. That's kind of the fun part of it.
Yeah, that's actually been what I've been doing on streaming on YouTube lately. I'll just occasionally just throw on Mario Maker 2, and I'll just get hit with this person. Hey, try this level. Hey, try this level. Hey, try this level. Sometimes some of them miss, but sometimes you'll play a level and be like, "Wow, that was well thought out, well made."
Yeah,
I could see that being part of the game. And sometimes you get the ones that are clearly worked on. I think sometimes some actual game developers work on some levels. Maybe they just do it on the spare time because they're just so made so well and intricately. It's just beautiful. I can't imagine anyone else doing it but that. I've always gone for the more simple levels though, the ones that look like something you would play on an NES cartridge back in the day. That to me is good. I love the subtlety.
Yeah. I agree with that. Sorry, I've got to turn this alarm. I've got an alarm that goes off at this time, and anyway, let's just move on. The thing that I liked about Dreams is obviously made by the people that made Little Big Planet, or it's something to MM, I think is the studio name. So it's got a very Little Big Planet intro where the lady talks to you, and it's also floaty and nice and kind of pulls you into the game and
pull away the bricks.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yes, and all that type of stuff. And I really enjoyed that part too. And then you get to the game part and making a level. I'm like, because to make a level in this game, you're using the motion control to guide you around, which can be a little bit I don't know. I'm not into it as much.
Personally, though, I wish that option was in Mario Maker 2. I don't think it is. And the Nintendo Switch Pro controller does have motion to it. Like
Yeah.
that's how you play Galaxy. And I admittedly, when I would make a level in Mario Maker, I do it right on the tablet itself. That's still to me the best way. You're more or less drawing it. But had Mario Maker 2 had that feature, I think I would have like used that more. I'm not saying I'm in love with it. I'd rather have the pad to use, but I'll work with it for now. I don't know how far I'll get. So far, I am liking it, and I definitely got a huge dose of Little Big Planet.
Yeah, there's definitely that. The thing that I found, though, becomes the most popular games on that platform are basically games that are ripping off other games. For example, let's make Mario for this PlayStation. And so it's basically a PlayStation remake of Mario. And someone who obviously loves that Mario game has gone and tried to see if they can recreate the game. Or it might be so far that they copied the levels from a game they like, but they just change the character look because they don't want to get sued as much as the other person. But it seems to be that's probably one thing I say is a little bit negative. There's some of them can be very creative, but a lot of the very popular ones are pretty much a blatant ripoff of something that I can already go and buy. So why would I play the dodgy ripoff version?
Now, there's I don't know how true this is, but there's an old saying: "Good artist copy, great artist steal." And that might be the case, honestly, with this, because you got to go with what works. And if that means that, I personally don't. That's why one thing I don't like doing, if I am involved in anything creative, I don't like to see other people's stuff. Because I don't want to purposely. I don't mind accidentally ripping you off because, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Yeah. But I don't even want to be tempted to be like, oh, I can just do that. Oh, I can just do that. I'd rather do it my way. Because even if it sucks, even if I don't get like recognition or clout or whatever, at least it was mine, and I can just be happy with that.
But okay, I'll give you a different example of where these type of games that you design are fantastic. So, being a indie game developer, if I want to go and create a level and see what it's like to play through, sometimes I'll just jump into Minecraft, build out that level, and then I can just go and play the level that I've got in my head. And then I go, okay, that works. I can go and add that to the game that I'm about to create. Having like these tools can actually be helpful in a different point of view.
No, that's right on the money there. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That must help out a lot of people, actually. I'm sure that's a non-uncommon thing.
Yeah, so there's different sides to it, but I'm not sure. I like these type of games, but I think the prices of them is a bit expensive. I feel like they should be more on the lower end, even though there's infinite amount of games you can play because technically somebody else has built most of the levels. For like on Mario Maker, you can spend hours playing other people's levels, but you're paying Nintendo $60-$80 a game so you can play other people's levels. I feel like that to me, that's a bit that I don't like so much. I feel like,
and not only are you right on that for that, but because these games they're somewhat intimidating. You got to make your own levels, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I don't think the install base is necessarily as big as someone who just wants to buy that 2D platformer or that 3D platformer. You know what I mean? So since you're trying to entice people to get your product, absolutely. It like if you're a creation game like that, I don't see any like if you're a really good one, keep it at 40 American. Yeah. Maybe less,
So and then there's the ones like you said, they're Garage Maker, and I'd even throw Roblox in with Garage Maker. Roblox has got its own studio. For anyone that doesn't know, it's basically a game engine studio similar to other game engines that are out there, and you can actually code out levels. You can do it as a full-blown game developer to make these levels. It's kind of a nice entry point if that's where you want to. If you've gone past Mario Maker and you've gone past all of them, Roblox Studio is actually probably a really good entry point to get into the game development space. But before you go to that, Garage Maker is probably even better because it's got the little nodes. So if you haven't played that game, you've got these nodes that you kind of drag along and you connect them up. So you say when they press the A button, he'll jump forward and then you might put another line out and he'll jump up. So that will shoot his direction, or he might do a spin when he jumps up. So you can choose what happens when you hit a button or a direction on the pad, and then you can choose when he walks on different things. And the nodes are like little boxes that you kind of fill out with information, and then you link them all up, and then you're kind of coding without coding. It's kind of like this really nice introduction to that kind of thing. So I think the Garage one, it's definitely not something, it's only on Nintendo, but it's definitely not something that I think people have played enough. Like, it's especially for like kids to learn how code and stuff works. It's a really good place to be.
I have a confession. I do own the game, and I haven't even installed it yet. I got it as a gift. A friend of mine really got into it. He's
Mikey, if you can put a thing in the comments, that'd be great.
yeah. If you're listening to this, you can talk about, put comments, and I will play it. That's what sucks. Like, you always feel bad when you get gifts from friends because you want to play them, you want to get your money's worth out of them. But sometimes, like this game, just like I said, very intimidating. I don't know if I could I can do Mario Maker and Mario Paint, but I don't know if I could do this particular game. So I'll try it someday.
It's very well done. Like it takes you on baby steps. It helps you design, like, I think about 10 different games that it's got like a whole course on. It's basically got its own course in the game of how to design these games using their nodes, and it's fantastic for anyone that wants to kind of make that step from gaming into game development. It's really, really well. For example, my 10-year-old son did it. My 6-year-old at the time son managed to work out how to build some levels on it. He went through the game. So it's not hard at all, but it's once you kind of see the power, you could just create anything in that. It's very powerful.
Well, yeah, you heard it here, folks. So I'm gonna try out Game Builder Garage. I'm actually gonna get it going. Maybe not tonight. I got some Zelda to play. But I do want to try because I do like Mario Maker 2. I'm on 1 and 2. I loved making levels. I thought it was very fun. So if this is just like the next step to that, absolutely. And honestly, part of me wants to check out the Roblox creation that you were talking about.
Well, it's its own studio. You have to install it on your computer. It's Roblox Studio, and then it uses nodes as well. It's also got like some code. Then it brings you into the coding side of things, and it's a bit more complicated. But I would definitely go Garage Maker for Nintendo, and then Roblox or something. Roblox, yeah, that's the way I would kind of go about it.
That's cool. No, I do want to check those out because just for something different. All I'm playing is first-person shooters and open world fantasy adventures. So you got to kind of break up the monotony now and then.
Yeah, but the thing that I love about Mario Maker, going back to that one, is the levels look so like a Mario game. Like, and I know that sounds stupid, but they don't look crap at all. Like everything works seamlessly. It looks like you've created something really, really, really polished. Some of these other ones are not quite as polished looking games. They're not like kind of as fancy to show off as what Mario Maker does. Mario Maker does a really nice job at that.
Because you're more or less building on the skeleton of, the actual, the jump physics, how things fall, how things move, the bits and pieces there. And Mario's always been solid, going back to 85, so...
Do you think that the people that are so when they're making Mario Wonder or whatever it's coming out later this year, do you think they've got a whole heap of designers just sitting down with Mario Maker on their Switches in Nintendo Studio making Wonder levels?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming the head of it. I can't. I'm sorry. I'd rather just not pronounce his name because I don't want to butcher it. But he's affectionately known as 1010.
Hmm.
He's more or less the guy that like, he's the heat to Miyamoto's light. You know what I mean? Whereas Miyamoto, more or less, Miyamoto does do some level design, but when you get to the nitty gritty of it, it was 1010. Like
Okay.
he designed the levels for Zelda, all the Marios, a couple other things. He was the director, I believe, of Mario Maker because
Ah.
he was the first Mario Maker. So I'm sure that whatever they do for Wonder, even if he's not like sitting, on it because he's older now. They don't sit and do the long hours, weekends making these games. I'm sure everything goes through him.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he probably has a hand making sure that they're doing it right.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Do you want to get controversial?
I want to get so controversial. All right. I've been waiting for this all day. Yes, we're going to be
Yeah.
talking about some games that you, the loyal viewers, like, but maybe we just don't that much. Who wants to start off first? Who wants to draw
Oh,
blood first?
okay. Let's just do the rule. Like, there's a bit of a rule thing to this, just so people can play along at home. So it's not like, for example, I don't like strategy games that much.
Yeah,
So I can't just go, oh, I hate what's that, Civilization or something, or
yeah,
Sim City, because that's just not fair. Like, I have to like the genre too before I kind of,
right. Yeah, I'm not going to play any Madden game ever.
yeah, I don't like
But I'm
sports
not.
games.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that because, a lot of people are gonna like the games that we're about to crap on, but that's just not my type of game. Plus, another rule is, especially with the games I chose, I did try all of them. Most
Mm.
of them, actually, every single one except for one that we'll get into, I own. But I gave it a shot, so I feel like at least when I say, well, I didn't like this, there's a little bit more merit to it. I'm not just blowing smoke.
Well, and most of the ones that I try, I don't own them anymore, or some of them I do, but
Yeah.
I played them for more than like 10 hours. Like, so I tried my absolute best at it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You,
It's not
you put
like
some
a
time
three
into it. It
minutes.
wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't just one session. You actually took a chunk, however big or small, out of it, and you were like, "All right, that's enough."
Yeah. So this is games that we don't like that everyone else in the world seems to like. If you have one of those games, put it in the comments. But we are going to go through. You want to go first?
I'll go for the first. This ain't. I'm gonna start low, but this is a game that you really didn't know that well. It's more of a cult game than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's got fans. This game has hard fans. People love it. My
Yeah.
friend is one of them who actually owns a game. It's a game that is actually very expensive to actually hold loose. But honestly, and I'm sorry to say this, I gave Earthbound a shot. I see that. I get the appeal of Earthbound.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just certain mechanical things about the game that I just don't like and I can't get behind. Because I love Super Nintendo RPG. For the uninitiated, it's a Super Nintendo RPG. Came out fairly late in the Super Nintendo cycle. It was one of its later games. I want to say 94 even. But in fact, it was a big game because it actually came with the strategy guide. Not the hardest RPG in the world, but
Mm-hmm.
it came with a strategy guide which had scratch and sniff Earths in it and stuff. It was stupid. And it's got a robust cast of characters that people love. People know Ness from the Smash Brothers series. Lucas would actually come into a sequel, which I'll talk more about. People talk about the jazz group there. They talk about Pooh. They talk about Jeff. And I actually like the character of Jeff. They talk about what was the level there? Threed. Ooh, that's a trippy level right there. It's creepy. Could be Tucson, but I think it's Threed.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a couple things for me that bring it down, and chief among them is I am very OCD when it comes to inventory management, especially with RPGs. I will whether it's Skyrim, whether it's Final Fantasy VII for PS1, I will spend a couple minutes organizing my stuff, putting different things in different wares, making room. Unfortunately for Earthbound, and this is just I've talked to other people about it, and they just people that play the game, and they just don't understand why I don't like it. I don't think you should combine the consumable items that you use or items you use in battle and put them in the same category as the key items that you need
Oh
to like
yeah, I
progress in the
hate
game
that.
and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? In most RPGs, they'll have a separate list for, the consumables, your potions, your ethers, your Phoenix Downs, your grab bombs, and then, the Shinra 69th key card will be in the key items section because that's all it is. You know what I mean? It's just the MacGuffin that you use to get through. And for some reason, Earthbound doesn't do that. They combine, I think it's like the, I want to say it's like a phone. It's more or less the way you save. And it's an item that takes up room that you could use for like health and stuff. I hated that. Like so much.
I know I can get on board with that.
Yeah, like I know it's just a little nitpick, and there are a lot of other good things about the game. The music is good. The music's very good, actually. But just that little thing just like really tanked for the game for me. And I actually tried it. My friend actually let me borrow. This was about, I want to say 2014, 2015. I think the game at that time was about $300 loose. Maybe it's gone up, maybe it's gone down. I don't know. And I gave it a decent college try, and I just going to get past that. I end up stopping at Foresight.
It's actually on the Nintendo's collection, so
It is,
I'm going to give it a try because I've never played it. It was really weird because at the time, okay, so this is what turned me off the game. At the time when it came out, it was probably one of the only games that had like an adorable character on the front. There was no other, every other game had like, oh, look at this evil alien invasion thing, all these things. And then Earthbound comes out and this like little kind of guy almost out of some kind of fun cartoon is on the front. And you're like, why would I want to play that? That's not a,
And here's the ironic thing about that. I didn't finish the game, but I know what happens at the end. It gets really uncute really quick at the end.
Oh, really?
Holy God. I will say this about the game. Epic. And, some RPGs are defined by their last boss fight, the epic last boss fight you have, whatever you're fighting. And that game is highly ranked in that category. The fight against Gigas is something. Now, personally, I'll never get there because, like I said, I can't get through that mechanic. I'm not going to touch it. But if you do go through the game, it from what I hear and what I've seen, on videos and other people playing, it's pretty epic and pretty dark.
So that's number 5 on your list. Where is
Number
4?
5.
Where's 4?
Okay, so number 4, this is a franchise that still stands today at one spot. And disclaimer, I'm not huge on stealth games to begin with. Mm-hmm. Like there are some stealth games that I have gotten behind. One of them might be on your list there, like games like Manhunt, games where you have to sneak around, just like not do that much.
Metal Gear Solid.
No, see, well, it's connected to that because I liked Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid was good.
Yeah.
So when Splinter Cell was announced and it was coming out for the OG Xbox, I was like, okay, well, that's Microsoft's Metal Gear Solid. And, I was hesitant at first because, I wasn't huge on stealth games. But when the reviews came out, high up there. Most of it were on the graphics, which for the time were like, it was one of the first games to have like really good shadow effects, stuff like that, bump mapping. But even without that, they were saying it's a competent stealth game. The controls, it controls well. The enemies are smart for 2002, but it's a good game. I did play it, and I actually did beat this one. This is one I beat. But I swear, it was one of those games that I felt like I wasted my time after I played. The stealth in it, it's competent enough, but it's almost too good to the point where, like, you just have to do it trial and error. It's the ultimate stealth game to me, and I'm just not a fan of stealth games.
Yeah, fair enough. I can...
I mean...
Stealth games are hard. You either really, really love them, or they can be so frustrating that you just give up. Yeah.
No, and there are stuff, like I said, Manhunt was really good. I don't know if you could call it a stealth game, but I enjoyed the Dying Light series. There are parts where you have to be quiet and stuff. Even Far Cry, sneaking around in for the Far Cry series, when you're in the base there and you're trying to liberate it.
Yeah.
That's done very well. And especially considering that's done very well in first person, which you think would make stealth harder because now you're not actually seeing your character or who can see your character. Now you're only seeing what your character sees.
Yeah.
And that was done very well. But for the time, Splinter Cell, it was one of those, well, I got it. When you're I was about 19 going on 20 then, so it's like, what else you got to do? You just got this game, you have to justify it. Today, if I buy a game and it sucks, it's like, well, I'm an idiot and I just toss it in my drawer. But back then, I was like, nope, you're playing this now.
Yeah,
So do it.
Kids are missing that these days. But
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, the old the worst is like I didn't rent Splinter Cell, I actually did buy it, but there were plenty of games like that I'd rent, you'd play, and you're like, I don't want to play this, and now you just have this useless piece of plastic that's just in your room, and you gotta wait 5 days to bring it back because you spent 5 days on it. Might as well milk it for all it's worth.
You don't want to give it back early so they could actually rent it again and make double money.
No.
That would be unfair.
Right. If anything, you're helping other people from renting it because it's horrible. You're doing it for them. You're doing this.
So where do we go with number 3? Where's this list taking us?
So number 3 is actually a fun one. I actually kind of want to get this out because this was a game that it's not as rabid as Splinter Cell or Earthbound or the other games on the series, but it has 4 games to it, so it must have its fans.
Mm-hmm.
I tried back in the day. My friend was working for GameStop, and he was actually able to get me a copy of Just Cause, which came with a T-shirt. Because he was working for GameStop and it was a promotional thing. I was like, nice, free T-shirt and a free game too. Great. And I liked open world environments like that. I almost got a Mercenaries vibe for any of our viewers that have ever played Mercenaries. I kind of got that vibe from the looks of it. So I was like, all right, if this is like Mercenaries, I'm down. Mm-hmm. Man, I don't think I got past 2 missions. And it wasn't a bad game. It was competently made and it had a cool like zipline mechanic. It just seemed like almost it was like the first time I ever got bored with an open world game.
No, I agree with you on that. I could not play any of those as well. I found them boring as well. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And for the time, it boasted a very big playing field for the time. Mm-hmm. Probably dwarfed today by like Tears of the Kingdom. But so just the fact that I started playing the game and I just realized like, wow, I just drove through all this and then I paused the game and you look at the map and like, oh, there's that much more land to get. Oof, I don't think I can do this. And I did. Not only did I try with that, but I actually tried with the second game. I actually jumped ahead just to see if like maybe
you're
they
missing
some
something
stuff out.
Yeah.
But no, even then. Plus, they don't reference the first story enough, but it just makes you want to know what happened in the first game. So I was like, nah, I'm good.
I agree with you. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the encyclopedia of games like you. But did that Just Cause series come out around the same time as Saints Row?
Xbox 360, yes. Yeah. It would have been side by side. I don't know if they can. I know Saints Row 1 was 2006. Saints Row 1 was very early in the Xbox 360's life cycle. So early, like in the old dashboard.
Well, but I thought that you were either the Saints Row guy or you were the Just Cause guy. They were kind of similar, kind of stupid, but if you know what I mean, like you were either one or the other. You couldn't be both.
But the main difference with that is, and ignore the fact that Just Cause was like more or less a mercenary style, more of a third-person shooter than like a Grand Theft Auto game, which is what Saints Row was. At the end of the day, Saints Row, we're just talking about 1. I'm not even going to bring up 2, which is the far superior sequel. Mm-hmm. Not a big playing area, even for the time. The city really wasn't that big, but there was just so much to do in it. And this was just the first game, just little stupid things like robbing convenience stores. You could never do that at the time. And I think Grand Theft Auto 5 has it now, but just stuff like that. And it did the GTA formula very well. Some to this day will swear that Saints Row 2 is far superior to Grand Theft Auto 4. Like, they'll make that. I don't know if I can make that argument.
It's almost more fun. Like, I think Saints Row added the dumb things that now all of the games add these when I say dumb, like the skins that are just so ridiculous, and the things that were never in those games at that time, where you could go and put on a G-string and run around the town and just laugh. You know, you put on a goat's head for some reason.
Oh yeah,
you know,
everyone had that weird costume that they had at their base. Like I'll be a zombie. Why not? You know, stuff like that. And admittedly, I don't think Just Cause, like, there wasn't Just Cause to play it.
Oh, that was just too good. That's
I got
too
wit
much.
for days, man. Wit for days. Yeah.
Tons. Oh, so let's go into number 2. This list is getting interesting.
I know. Oh no. Let's see here. Okay. Now this is a tough one. In fact, I hope my niece doesn't hear this, because I noticed this is popular. This is a video game franchise that's actually popular amongst the youngins, and which is kind of weird because it really wasn't that popular when I was a youngin, even though it was a Nintendo franchise. I'm someone that's used to very precise jumping and movement in my retro 2D platformers, your Marios, your Mega Mans, your Castlevanias, and your Ninja Gaidens, your Batman 89s. You jump at that spot, you'll go there. You can guide your character around. It's almost heavy. Because of that, I still to this day have trouble wrapping myself around Kirby Adventures mechanics. Just the floating. I do like the absorbing of powers and stuff, but just like jumping around, getting from point A to point B, because he has that weird floating thing to it, it irks me to the point where now that I think of it, I don't think I ever completed the game. I think I may have gotten far enough. I'm pretty sure I played it when it came out on the Wii, because once again, it's a Nintendo franchise. It's something you should own. I have it for the NES. I got the cartridge, but just the jumping controls are too loose, too literally floaty. I mean, that's what you're doing for most of the game. To the point where I'm sorry, I can't get behind Kirby's Adventure now. I'm talking for the NES.
Okay. So that's what I agree with you on this, because I started backwards. I started with the newer ones and then went back, and I'm like, oh, where did this all start? And I'm really confused about how that game was even sold back then, because it was so cute and that kind of look to it that you think they would have made it easier, but it was actually quite a hard game for kids. So it wasn't like they made it easy for kids and made it cute so like young kids could play it. It was super hard, but then it was, I don't know, like I can't work out how it actually got sold back in the day. The new ones though, I quite like. I think they're kind of fun. But yeah, it's a really interesting old game that I don't know why it even where it developed further, because the first one should have just got thrown in the bin. So I can get on board with your thought.
You got to remember, Kirby's Adventure for the NES is not the first one. The first one was Kirby's Dream Land. But here's the thing. I thought that was hard. It was for Game Boy. Yeah. So I'm not really counting that as like... And plus, I didn't play it until much. I played Kirby's Adventure way more before I even touched Dreamland. And 2, one of the iconic things you can't do in Kirby's Dreamland is you can't absorb people's powers, which is a staple of Kirby. That's one of Kirby's... That'd be like in the first Mario Brothers, there was no fire flower. And even that's not that extreme compared to not being able to get all these other powers. Yeah. So Kirby's Adventure on the NES is an improvement on that. They added that. But like you said, and I think it's because of the jumping controls and the scheme. That's one of the reasons why it's very hard. You know, because you got to work around that. Whereas, say what it is for Mega Man. Mega Man can really beat your butt. But when you press the jump button, he jumps. You know what I mean? And you can direct him of where you need to go. You know, with Kirby, it's just I always feel like I'm not in control. And if you take control away from me in a video game, it just sucks, you know. It just does, unless of course it's like a tutorial or one of those like walk-in Joker through Arkham Asylum deals where at least they give you some control. Or
if you're drunk in the game.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then it's okay if the controls don't work quite right, because it's kind of telling the story. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. This is gonna get like the hate. People are going to send a SWAT team to your house. You're in trouble after you say this.
I just want to say to everybody, Okay, I have the game. I even bought the strategy guide for the game.
This is
You know,
number
that's how
one.
much. That's how much. This is my number one. This is how much I wanted to get into this game because I love fantasy games. I love Skyrim. I love Oblivion. I loved Morrowind. I love the Zelda games. A whole bunch others that I really can't get into right now. So when I got The Witcher 3, I figured I was going to have an experience like that. Like, oh, wow, this is going to be so cool. You know, I'm going to do this, that. The other thing is just going to be fantasy. And for what it's worth, the fantasy aspect of it's great. You know, the look of the characters, the sounds, the way the villages look, all that was great. There were a couple of things for me, though, that made me go, I don't want to play this anymore. I probably got about, like, I jokingly said, yeah, I quit when I saw the main character, Geralt of Rivia, taking a bath. Literally, that's like, once after that and I saved, I stopped playing. Like, that was just done. There are a couple things. First off, not huge on the combat itself. Because I was playing on the PS4 at the time, I think I got too much of a God of War vibe, but it came off as like a worse God of War, if that makes any sense. Just like, because like if you're fighting dudes in a 3D perspective and you're using your weapons, it's got to at least feel like you're in the fray, you're fighting. And even though there's parrying, which can be good or bad, it just didn't draw me in. I mean, I mentioned Skyrim, which is literally just, if you're a fighter, just going up to the dude, hitting him with your sword till he dies, or hanging back, peltering with arrows or spells, stuff like that. But that, to me, that just felt more visceral and satisfying. Same with Oblivion, same with Morrowind. Even Zelda, for example, even though it's still 3D and you're just fighting dudes, the combat's not super involved. You're literally just pressing one button for one sword. You have a bow and arrow, or you might need to use that. The Witcher, I think, and it also, disclaimer, it's been about, when did The Witcher come out? A year after that. It's been that long since I've played it. So not all of it's. I was actually thinking about firing up just so I could, because I don't want to come off as half-baked with my criticism of the game. And they're not deep criticisms, you know what I mean? But that was just one of the aspects of the game that I really couldn't get behind. Some of the interface was clunky, I felt. Like how it dealt with like side quests and stuff. At least, once again, I got to compare it to Skyrim because that's what I was coming up with when I did it.
I can see that aspect being. I found the side quests were a little bit hard to navigate to. Like the menu in there, I can see how that was a bit challenging because it was a bit annoying.
The characters themselves were all right. I wish I knew more about them. I don't think this really crushed me from playing the game, but I should also let everyone know I did not play Witcher 1 or 2. Which I don't know how much of a difference that would have made. Maybe it would have made all the difference. I don't know.
Well, I didn't play them either, and I liked the game. Hang on, let me just get this. Hang on.
I think he wants to throw up because I'm talking bad about Witcher. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the whole statue thing going on here. So
that's what I'm dealing with here. All right. God, I knew I should have just went with Prey instead. Oh, well.
Okay, I'm just going to say, I can see where you're coming from with this game to some extent, because at the start of this game, I bought it just because I thought that statue was cool. I'd never played 1 or 2. And I'm like, I was in a statue collecting mood. And the start of the game is really slow. It's such a slow intro for a game. But I think that's to give you...
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. But then there was a moment in time when he fights the first beast, and then he gets to doing some investigations where he was tracking footprints and stuff like that of where a whole heap of people had been killed on a cart. And that was a mechanic that drew me in. At that time when that game first came out, there was no investigation things like that in games before, and I liked that component of it. Plus, it was kind of fun to go to the brothel. But
yeah. Well, the game couldn't have a brothel in it. Like I said, these games that I mentioned, mechanically, they're fine. You know, I'm not gonna. There are some games that suck, and like I could easily said, yes, you know, Gotham Knights sucked, but I don't think too many people are gonna be defending that game. I'm sure there's a couple people that like it, and you know, it is
Yeah.
Batman stuff, so that's cool. But yeah, I knew I was gonna be touching something with Witcher 3, and Witcher 3 was one of the first real major AAA games that I ever bought, where I was just like, I have no more interest in this.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I will. Well, do you want me to get through this list? I feel like I might get more hate than you because I've got my list is bad.
You will not get 1 ounce of hate from me. Shoot.
Okay,
Give me number 5. Here, let me set up the spit take. Just so yeah, all right.
Okay, so I start with Assassin's Creed, the original Assassin's Creed. I just bought this game multiple times. I tried to play through it multiple times, and I couldn't work out why the game even got any success. Like, it was horrendous. If everyone's ever played the first Assassin's Creed, the mechanics of jumping in that game, the story was not thought out at all. It was just the worst Assassin's Creed game. And at the time, there was a lot better games out that you could play than Assassin's Creed. And Assassin's Creed kept on creeping up the list and being in the top 10 of all games at the time. And I mean, it went on to produce a great series of games. And I do like the other Assassin's Creed, but the first one, I don't know how it got the success it got. It was so bad.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the jump-in mechanic. Now, once you said that, I remembered when I played the game, there was a part where I was able to pull off an assassination, but rather than sitting down at a bench, Altair like stood on the bench because I couldn't get like the movement right. So he went into it literally a little too wrong. It worked out, but I was like, God damn, I hate the jumping in this game.
Yeah, so that was the one in particular that I just couldn't work it out at the time. And so that was my number 5.
Yeah, and my verdict is this on Assassin's Creed 1. I love the game, and I played through it, but it's one of those games I'll never play again. You know, like you get what you can get out of it. It's competent, it's fun, and I'm a history buff, so if you give me like real people doing real like Richard Lionheart in the game, stuff like that, like it tickles me the fact that at the end of Assassin's Creed 2, you actually get into a fist fight with Pope Alexander VI. Not because I have anything against like any religious thing, just the fact that it's a actual person. You know what I mean? It's not just a made. I always love when they introduce real people into video games, especially if they're antagonistic. Anything from Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out to Charles Lee in Assassin's Creed. So that part does interest me with Assassin's Creed. But like you said, especially with the first game, some of the mechanics were just. You mentioned games that like came out around that time too, like what was popular. One game that came out around that time was Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
And it's funny because to me those two games are connected because a big trope in a game now is like the button that makes you give you your sixth sense, your detective vision, your eagle vision, your like, and a lot of games have that now. And I just remember those two games coming out around the same time and they both had it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think that was like was that 2000s, 90s, late 90s, 2000s, that was like the biggest thing to come into video games almost at that time.
I want to say Assassin's Creed 1, if anyone out there wants to correct me on this, you know, I'm sure someone will stump me eventually. I want to say it's 2009 because I'm almost positive it came out in 2009.
Okay, You're more encyclopedia than me, so I'll run with that.
I will look it up after this, yes. Just to make sure I didn't sound like an idiot.
Then, number 4, I go on to Monkey Island. I don't know if you've ever played this series.
Never played it, but I know of its reputation, so I'm interested in hearing that.
It's such a big reputation, and the people that love these series are like mad for it. They love it. Like
people love that game. I've heard from people, like not just on the internet. Oh yeah, like they enjoy it. I never played it. Not really that much interest in it, but let me know. You know.
Well, I like puzzle games and I like stuff like that, but I've played a couple of the games from the series, and every time I get into it, it feels so just not fun. Like like you've got to go around and find information. So you're basically clicking on stuff, looking for information around a lot of the places. And then you're just trying to find this one piece of information, and then you've got to go and work out what person that has to go to or where that has to go. And I'm just not into that. Like, I just don't get it as a fun thing. But I like puzzle games. So this is where I kind of found it challenging. I thought it was going to be more puzzling, but it seems more hide and seeky. I bet people classify it as a puzzle game. I don't know if it's in the wrong genre category for me.
It sounds like it's more in the point and click adventure category, like your Maniac Mansions or.
Yeah, it's true, definitely like that. But they try to pass it off as a point and click puzzle game, but it's not as much puzzling as it's finding. You know, like those ones on your iPad where you've got like a scene and you've got to try and spot the 5 kittens in the scene. That kind of thing. That's kind of more where it's at than the actual, like, there's a puzzle in front of you and you've got to try and solve it. There's not as much that kind of stuff. So
no, yeah. I would try it. Like, hey, if it ever drops on Steam for a decent price.
Well, you can try the latest one on Game Pass.
Okay.
The newest one, Monkey Island something or other. But yeah, I don't know. It's not my thing. Yeah. So I'll go into number 3 now. Now, this one here, I have spent 80 hours playing this game and just to make up my mind that I didn't like it, okay?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Is Animal Crossing, the new one. Horizons. I wanted to love the game so much. I genuinely like those type of games and I wanted to love the game. And I just felt like every time I achieved something in that game, they would take it away from me and then double the price and triple the price and then make me want to buy it. They'd make me want to buy that same item again or something, a small upgrade, but which cost forever so much money. And it was just so like tedious trying. At the start, it's kind of fun because like a house costs $100 or something like that, you know, it's not unreasonable. And then, you know, and so you've only got to get 5 pieces of fruit or whatever it is to convert that into a house. And as you go through the game, you have to get more and more upgrades. And as you get these upgrades, it just gets harder. And like the amount of money, like it's $45,000 for a house upgrade where I was up to. And I'm like, I cannot devote my life to this game anymore. It almost like it was trying to make you just wait, like not enjoy your time, but waste your time. It was trying to like, if we can get you to play for 100 hours, we know that you've like spent your time on this game. And it was kind of like one of those really bad, to me, it felt like a really bad YouTube video where people are kind of like, hey, wait to the end. And you kind of like get to the end and you're like, oh, why did I wait that long? That's what it felt like to me. It was just trying to drag me through time, stealing my time. And yeah.
Life, let's just call them life simulator games, if you will. They can be very tricky. You know, you got to keep, like with The Sims, for example, I mean, or hell, the settlement option in Fallout 4. You got to keep it engaging, and Animal Crossing does have its fans. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I could ever get into it. I never personally, I never played an Animal Crossing. The first time I actually ever showed any interest in Animal Crossing was when I heard that the original one actually had some old games in it. I heard it like Punch-Out was in it, like you could be able to play the game. And of course, I did enjoy the cute little crossover that Animal Crossing New Horizons had with Doom Eternal for a while. That kind of made the rounds on the memosphere. I hope I don't know. I'm sorry if that's not a word. It shouldn't be a word.
It should be.
It should. But other than that, yeah, my personal experience at Animal Crossing is limited to Smash Brothers and Mario Kart. But there was never anything there to really grab me, much like Monkey Island, I guess.
So yeah. Now, number 2 for me, I've got to explain the scenario surrounding this. This is probably so high on my list basically because of how this came about. So at the time, I had PlayStation 3, then I bought an Xbox One. Sorry, an Xbox 360, because PlayStation 3 didn't have a lot of games that I wanted. I went to Xbox 360. That was my favorite console. Like, I loved that console so much. Then I went to Xbox One because I thought, oh, Xbox is me. I'm an Xbox guy now. And then I got an Xbox One, and it was the most disappointing console I've ever had. Mostly because they just tried to force the Connect, and the games weren't that great for it as well. So I decided I was going to leave the console world at this point in my life, and then I would just go onto PC. So I got a PC. Like, this is a long number 2 stories, but I feel like this is part of why my dislike for this game comes from. And then this game called Bloodborne came out on PlayStation 4, and I'm like, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 4 just for that game. So I bought the PlayStation 4, bought Bloodborne, played it for 10 minutes, and hated the game.
And you think Witcher 3 is going to get all the hate comments. All right. Well, once again, it's not fair of me to say that because I've never touched Bloodborne. The closest thing I've ever played to anything relating to like Dark Souls, I know it's what From Software makes it, is Elden Ring, and even that I haven't really played a whole lot of. But yeah, Bloodborne is one of those games, got its fan base. I know people that like. Well, actually, my friend that got me into. I played Oblivion. I beat Oblivion, but I was hesitant on Skyrim, and he convinced me to go with Skyrim. Years later, I saw him random into recently, and he mentioned he was playing Bloodborne, and he loved it. He loved it. He thought it was the best game ever. I still was hesitant to get it. I still never played it, but I just remember his enthusiasm. So hearing you say that, now I'm like, oh, okay. I would like to know why. Why in 10 minutes were you like, incinerator?
Yeah. Well, okay. So the game, I find the game's mechanics, like the way you move in the game, I find it quite clunky. Like, you don't move fluidly. It's quite rigid the way that the character moves. Further than that, you go into like, there's no kind of tutorial or anything at the start of this game. You kind of just find a storage, you go into a room, and this guy just kills you, and you try to hit him or something. Like the first boss is like not even a boss. The first enemy was kind of like very difficult, and I was only playing it on, I don't think there was a difficulty setting to turn it down difficulties or anything like that. It was just like, it didn't give me a chance to kind of experience combat properly. You just kind of up against this quite hard for an intro character to fight. And I got to this character, I tried to defeat him like 6 times, and I was like, ugh, this is, why is this so hard? What am I doing wrong? I don't understand anything. And that was it. I was out.
Nah, I mean, it is one of those games. Probably, if I ever see it in the bin for a couple bucks, sure, throw it on the pile. But really, there's nothing really that I've seen of the game that really makes me go, oh, wow, this is the experience I need. Honestly, the fact that you said that, I dig smooth movement. You know what I mean? That's a big test. Like, if Super Mario can have good movement, then your character should have good movement. And with the way you said that makes me go, ooh, maybe there's. And now I'm a little hesitant to do that. One thing I'll say about Elden Ring, I was playing some of it. It seemed to move competently. Like it wasn't offensive. I didn't get that far yet in it, but that's my only instance with the From Software family. Your Demon Souls, your Dark Souls.
But did you find that actually quite? Like, do they drop you in? Do they give you any tutorial in Elden Ring, or it's just, here's a sword, go and fight?
Yeah, I think I was raised from the dead to defeat some type of evil.
Yeah.
And I woke up in this room, and there were a whole bunch of other people around. But I guess it's one of those games that is online even if you're not. So you see them, but you can turn it off. Like, you can turn it off, and which I did, because when I play a single player game, I want to play a single player game. It felt good. I just honestly, the only reason why I really haven't played it yet is just because I got at the time, I believe I was just going through Dead Space remake for the first time. I knew Resident Evil 4 was coming. I knew Breath of the Wild was coming, and I wanted to get those games in. Even though it's good to play new IPs and new worlds and stuff. At the end of the day, it's a fantasy style game where you have magic and you're defeating monsters.
Mm-hmm.
You can change the names all you want, but that's what it's doing. So, I mean, that's just my take on it. I will go back to it someday, though. But as far as Bloodborne goes, I don't know, man.
Okay, so please don't send the SWAT team. My number one.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Get those keyboards ready, Warriors. We're going to hear this right now.
The number one most disliked game was The Last of Us. I just cannot. I've tried to play this game so many times because everyone talks about how good it is. And I can see from a story point of view that the game is an interesting game. And I also really, really, really love Uncharted. So the company that makes The Last of Us makes Uncharted. And I thought, yes, this is definitely something I would like. And I still just don't like it. My biggest hate from the game, and I told you this the other day, was that you go into a room and you've got to kind of sneak around the room stealth. But most stealth games, they kind of go, hey, you've got to go and do them. You've got to get out that door. That's the exit point. And I find it that I would go into a room and then I'd be kind of trying to sneak past the thing, but I was unsure where I was actually meant to get to. The path to me was just too annoying. And once I start dying in a game multiple times, I just think maybe that game's not for me. Maybe I'm not this guy. So
yeah, it's funny too because we were talking about stealth games and what good example of a current stealth game than The Last of Us. Now, and much like our Wister discussing, I personally loved The Last of Us. I'm still waiting for Part 2 to come out for PS5 proper before I touch it because I don't want to go through the game and then now we have an enhanced edition and be like, ugh. You know what I mean? I want to play it as fresh as possible, as best as possible right now. If I was a betting man, I'd say when Season 2 comes out, they'll probably release Part 2 because it's more or less going to follow that, I'm assuming. Yeah. Now, going back to stealth games, though, one stealth game I mentioned that I actually did like a lot was Manhunt.
Yeah.
And when I played Last of Us, I got a big Manhunt vibe with its stealth mechanics. Okay. So when I did play Last of Us, it brought me back there to the part where I could actually see the tropes. I could see the patterns easily. I could be like, all right, there's that open area right there. They're going to walk down it. Just go behind them then. Sometimes they wouldn't, and I end up getting, effed. But for the most part, because of my experience with that game, I was actually able to really ease fairly well through The Last of Us. And that's not even the best part of it. I mean, the game's got a phenomenal story with phenomenal characters. I mean, they made an Emmy, unnominated series out of it, so the base material must be really good. The combat, what combat there was, I liked. It was smooth. It wasn't unintuitive. The music, minimal, but it worked. And like you said, that whole thing, where do I go? What do I do? That is their hard. And it's not one of those games where if they get you get a health bar. Oh, now you have some health bar. When they get you, that's
it.
You're loading the last save. Death animation, black, last save. That's what happens. It did take me a while to get into it. I will say that. Because when I played it, I actually played the PS3 version first.
Right.
And I got probably about a quarter way through, and I did like it. But I forget exactly what stopped me from completing it on there. But shortly after that, I heard of the PS4 version coming out. So I was just like, well, I'll just, finish it on that. And that's what I ended up doing. And, great story, great ending. Not enough to make me want to watch. Admittedly, I haven't watched the series yet because I feel like for me, I know they embellish on it, but it's kind of been there, done that for me. I know the story. Well,
I tried to watch the series, and it's good. It's well done, but I feel like every episode that they, how directors now, when we used to have movies, they would make a movie an hour long, and they would cut all the boring crap out of a movie. Now they make a movie 3 hours long and put as much boring crap in as they can. Yeah. So that's what I feel like the TV show is. Like they could make each episode 40 minutes and it would be like super fun, super kind of that where they made each episode like an hour. And so there's like about 20 minutes each episode where you're just like, I get that you're trying to show emotion and I get that there's like, we're trying to invest you in the character. I understand all that. But for me, I'm too old for that shit.
Well, I mean, like, think about it. I mean, the game, I can't accurately compare it to the TV show. The cutscenes, the voice acting, the cinematography with all that, top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Very top notch. But it's within the confine, they don't stretch it out. The parts where it does get stretched out is the parts where you're running through the streets of Boston or Salt Lake City or whatever, fighting clickers. Stuff like that. So I think that is where the game actually has the advantage over the show, where you have to invest, and you're absolutely this could be another subject, but you're on the. That's why I don't watch movies anymore. Mm. If a movie is, if you can't fit a movie on one VHS tape, I'm not going to watch it. Like, I'm just not. Like, that's my rule. If it doesn't fit on one VHS tape, unless you're either Braveheart or Titanic, I'm not going to watch it. So, like I just can't. My attention span is horrible now. Like, it's getting worse as I get older.
I know, right? I'm here. So, yeah. Our top worst, best games, whatever you want to call them, you actually lost or won, depending on how you look at it, because in the Metacritic scale, Witcher came in at 99 of the best games that they've got, and Last of Us came in at 67.
Oh.
So,
ooh.
Yeah, so we were both there.
I don't know who that. Won. Like, I could see Last of Us getting higher reviews over. I mean, two different games, apples, oranges, but I could see Last of Us having more appeal because, once again, RPGs.
Yeah,
there's always a learning curve. It's say what you will, as complicated as sneak around in Last of Us is. I mean, that's all you're doing. You're not leveling up. You do level up some of your weapons and stuff like that, but you're more or less just going on a path, which I think a lot more people can digest. A little easier. It's actually kind of fun. It's nice to know that Witcher was not. Do you remember what was number 100? Like, what actually was the one game that was worse?
Oh no, I didn't see that. Yeah, but
okay, hang on. Just because it was 99, like, it's just funny that would be the 99. That would just make the top 100.
It just makes the top 100. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Okay, number 100 was Quake.
Respect. All right, I like that. I can get. Actually, I just downloaded Quake 2 right on my PS5, like right before we started this. So that's cool.
No, well, it's worse than The Witcher. There's no point in playing it.
Right? Yeah. Like, why are you playing Quake? Play Witcher instead. Come on, man. Yeah. And it should be noted, especially with me in these games, I think we both recognize the appeal to other people. It just doesn't appeal to us.
Yeah.
And everyone, and once again, leave a comment. Everyone has these games. Everyone has the game that everyone else. It has to be a game that you tried, though. Yeah. I could grab Loafer and be like, I don't like Call of Duty. Admittedly, I don't play Call of Duty, but it's clearly a decent game if so many people are playing it. You know what I mean? If there's flies around, that means there's honey somewhere. So even if it might not be my type of honey, it's somebody else's. So it's got to be a game that, like, I gave a shot with, I tried, and it just didn't work out. And that's what these 5 games were to me. And it seems like you gave them a decent shot too.
Yeah, that's true. Now, quickly, do you want to guess the top 10 Metacritic games of all time?
Number 1, well, I know what number 1 is. I mean, it has to be Ocarina of Time.
Yes, it is.
Number 2.
Number 2 is an interesting one. I did not expect number 2 to be there. I'll give you a clue. It's year 2000.
Year 2000? Like on the dot?
Yep. 20th of September.
Wouldn't it be Silent Hill too?
No,
it's not that.
No.
I'm trying. See, now I'm in my head. I'm like, okay, what came out in 2000? I give up. What?
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Oh,
it's hard to I was not expecting that to be so high in the list.
I gotta apologize to it real quick. Hold on. I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Sorry, Tony Hawk. It's the Dreamcast version, but it counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, because I love Tony Hawk. I love all.
I know, I love
Tony.
it too, but I didn't expect it to be that high on the list. That's what I'm saying.
It was a lot of fun, man. I burned through that thing. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That is a hard number 2. I'm proud of that being number 2.
So yeah, now what are you guessing?
All right. So well, you got to give me a clue for number 3. Like, give me the year it came out.
Okay. This is going to probably give it away, but number 3 is in the top 10 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
Okay, so it's a Mario game.
Nope.
Or a Zelda game.
Nope. Think
Mario
of the most popular game that you can think of.
Well, it wouldn't be Pokemon, would it?
No, more popular.
Oh, yeah.
More popular. It's got an online section.
Oh, online. So
it's not Call of Duty. So if you're a teenage boy right now and you weren't playing Call of Duty, what would you be playing?
Halo. It would be Halo.
No, no. The other game that every teenage kid's playing.
GoldenEye 007?
No, no.
Oh, that was me when I was a teenage boy. Yeah, I forgot.
Grand Theft Auto 4.
Oh, Grand Theft Auto 4. See, now when you say Grand Theft Auto, I would have said 5, but 4 is number 3?
Okay, 5's the other one. It's 9 and 10. So 4 is in 3 and 5 position because it's on the PlayStation version got in, and then I don't know why the Xbox version got in 2 spots lower, but so if you're going to buy Grand Theft Auto 4, PlayStation 3 version is the most loved version.
Yeah, well, maybe because, it's got the install base with GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas coming out on the PlayStation series first. That's all I can think of with that.
Yeah. So number 4, you should get this. This is right up your alley. 1999, September 8th.
September 8th?
8th.
I know September 9th. Oh, let me guess. Majora's Mask?
No, it's on a console that does, or it's on a console that doesn't exist anymore, or that company.
Wait, what was the year again?
1999.
Because see, I know Dreamcast came out September 9th.
Okay, so it might be on. It is on the Dreamcast, so it might be just
Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur.
Yep.
Soul Calibur.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. See, that's what I thought. I was like, okay, it's got to be Dreamcast. It's not Sonic Adventure. And then instantly, I was like, oh yeah, Soul Calibur. That came out for Dreamcast. Yeah.
So then we go to Grand Theft Auto 4 again in 5th spot, number 6 spot.
All right, you gotta give me the year, man.
Okay, 2007. These are all your games.
2007.
Yeah, November 12th.
Mario Galaxy 1?
Yep.
All right, yeah. All right, cool. Okay. I figured.
Now, back that up with number 7.
Mario Galaxy 2?
Yep.
and it's funny that you say that because more people I talk to actually prefer Galaxy 2 more, but I actually prefer Galaxy 1, so I'm glad to see that.
Well, yeah, so that's... And then there's Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, funny I should say this, though, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is more popular on the Xbox than it is on the PlayStation.
Whereas with the Grand Theft Auto 4, it's the reverse. Yeah. Well, that just shows you where people were going. You know what I mean? Where they were going with the consoles. Because, going to Grand Theft Auto 4 from San Andreas, it was all on the PlayStation. So I think the PlayStation 3 people would be more adapt to that. But there was a big gap between, 2008 was when GTA 4 came out, and 2013 was when GTA 5 came out. So that was a 5-year gap. Which, admittedly, it's not that much longer than the 4-year gap that between San Andreas and 4, but...
Okay, I just realized something very interesting here. So Grand Theft Auto 4 came out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 same day, 2008. Now, PlayStation had the exclusivity of Grand Theft Auto 5 launch for 1 year. So Grand Theft Auto 5 never came out on Xbox till a year later,
Wow.
2014.
Huh. I didn't know that.
And so when Grand Theft Auto 5 came on Xbox, it probably had built-in DLC and stuff like that, which made it slightly more popular.
Maybe because day one patches, getting the kinks all worked out.
Yeah.
It's to the point now where like even I'm hesitant to buy. I want to get Baldur's Gate 3, but part of me is like, might as well wait. Let them iron it out. Give it a couple months. And you're right. That probably is what affected that. It probably was just a more polished game by the time it came out.
So,
and it's interesting too because by the time GTA 5 came out, PS4 and Xbox One, if they weren't out already, they were coming. People knew what they looked like, and so and they did go to PS4 and Xbox One fairly right away. They went to PS5 and Series pretty right away too, when that stuff came out. So I could see that actually topping that list. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to leave us with a funny note.
Right.
We've got on PS3, they released three Grand Theft Autos. Yes?
GTA 4 episodes from Liberty City, which is the 2 DLC packs, and GTA 5.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's it, yeah. And of course, there's the combo pack that gives you GTA 4 and episodes from Liberty City. That's the one I actually currently have.
Yeah. But then GTA 5 has been on three different generations of consoles.
So far.
So far. That's just crazy. We just make a game and we just keep it going. I can't believe I was looking at PlayStation's most played games or downloaded games last month. Number 1 was GTA 5. And I'm thinking that game is like, who is still buying this game? Who?
Well, the online community for GTA is robust. It's very big. And they're still updating that. I really wish they came out with some like single player campaign stuff. Because GTA 4 got that. GTA 4 got 2 completely new storylines.
Yeah.
Same city, but new storylines. And I was kind of hoping that would happen with GTA 5. Never did. Probably never will.
Well, they worked out that their market is in the online community, and that's where they're kind of working towards, I would say.
Like you said, I mean, if you go on what's being downloaded the most, I guarantee shark cards for GTA 5 are still being sold on the marketplace, like a lot. I almost bought one. Well, I didn't because I went back.
How are they going to go from dragging to GTA 6? Like that's coming, but all the people that have spent all this money on GTA, how are they going to drag them to the next game and keep their shark codes? Like, I think they've got to work out a way to do that. Otherwise, they're going to bring the hate.
They're going to bring the hate, but at the same time, new mature gamers are born every day. They're done with I don't want to play the Switch anymore. I want a PS5. Ma, GTA 6 is coming out. Yeah. So, and they're not gonna have build up like people the older counterparts have. So they might supplement that. There's also the thrill of, and some people do. I have. Sometimes there's a thrill to starting over. Granted, if you dumped a whole lot of money into whatever you just did, and now that's not coming over, that can sting pretty hard. I'd be a little ticked off about that. Yeah. But honestly, I'm not going to grab the pitchfork until I see something to grab it with. You know what I mean? And maybe everything will come over. Who knows? Probably not. But until they say it, it don't exist.
So we had a couple of comments here. Back in the day, they could make your own Sonic the Hedgehog levels with Genesis debug codes.
I heard about that. I think it was one of the racing ones, though. I never played around with it too much. I worried about debug codes because to me, compared to regular cheats, debug codes seemed a little bit more like in the code of the game. And I was always worried that like I might like do something weird and it might end up like really affecting the game. Sometimes that can happen with Game Genie. Mm-hmm. Like you end up accidentally reprogramming the game and it doesn't work right. So I never mess around with that personally.
Yeah, I like to just buy I'm also the same. Buy the game, as it was intended to be played. That's what
Right.
that's what was so good about cartridges, because they were a polished game, and then they didn't have the ability to update it. Nowadays, we release a game with the foresight of let's go and update that when they find all the bugs for us. You know, I mean, like I kind of don't like that mentality. Also, for me, not the biggest fan of turn-based RPGs. I respect them, but the idea of waiting to get hit seems like a dumb idea. I agree with that.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, I'm juiced in thanks to Final Fantasy and Mario RPG, so I can deal with that. And plus, I got to say, I'm not the best chess player, but I've played enough chess to, be used to waiting for someone to move, to make their move. So that doesn't really bother me too much. But that is one of the things that does turn people off. It's mostly a JRPG thing as opposed to Western. But yeah, it's a fair complaint.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me that much. But hey, maybe inventory management doesn't bother people too much either. So each their own.
Well, that's been the show. Let's go, and we'll get back next week and do some more of this anything gaming stuff. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.